Welcome to the show. We're crossing streams here from my personal Facebook to my political page, Conrad Chesvin for Virginia, to the Community Action Team, to the Beach Brothers, and both of those on YouTube as well. Just do me a favor, go to those pages and like or subscribe to them. And of course, like this video too. It's a big help. I also want you to contribute by putting in some comments and or questions in the chat for us, and I'll put them up on the screen. Now, tonight's a great show, and we're coming off a back-to-back as last night was interviewed Virginia delegate candidate Jessica Anderson, running over there in Williamsburg for the 71st District. Tonight's guest is Rick James, running here in Virginia Beach and Norfolk for the 95th House District. But before I bring him on, I, of course, want to thank great supporters like Tally Antoine of Portsmouth, Charlie Roy over at Southern Greenbrier Volkswagen, where you can get a good used car. IamLitaWee.com for microblading. Of course, the great creators of the show like Seiko Varner over at Positive Vibes Incorporated and Jose Cruz handling your insurance needs. Also want to thank Neptune's Remodeling. They've helped my house 3 times this year, and they can help you from drywall to custom carpentry to plumbing and more. Reach them in Tidewater at 757-524-1732. Now let's bring on tonight's guest, Rick James. Let me hit that. I'm going to bring him on and I'm going to give him a little introduction here. Mr. Rick James is a proud husband and father who spent his career as a combat medic in the Army 82nd Airborne Division. He was also a police officer for 27 years, a college educator, a legislative aide to Senator Spruill, who happens to be running in the state Senate district where I reside here in Portsmouth. Mr. Rick James was also a justice activist for the Norfolk and Virginia Beach NAACP. Rick has dedicated his life to serving our community and our country. Rick's priorities are about listening to citizens' concerns and staying focused on solutions to protect reproductive rights and expanding access to quality health care, including mental health care. He's also about working to end gun violence and keeping communities safe. He wants to be about increasing economic opportunities for all through good-paying jobs and affordable housing, and about strengthening public education, our community college system, among other priorities. But you don't have to settle for my words here. Let's bring Mr. Rick James on right now. So how are you doing tonight, good sir?
I'm doing pretty good. Thank you for inviting me to your show, and thank you to all your listeners and supporters.
Thank you so much for joining tonight on this de Mayo Friday. Now, first topical question out of the gate. What do you enjoy doing with your free time?
Well, you know me, I'm all about family. If you look at my Facebook page or my website, you'll see that I'm about family. I've been married to my beautiful wife for over 30 years. We have 4 grown children. One of them you know very well from school. I have 12 grandchildren, and we spend a lot of time with our family together. You know, my wife and I have an old saying, you know, we enjoy working hard, but we play hard also. And I've learned over the years that, you know, you're not really having a whole lot of fun unless you're spending time with your family. You know, I try to keep my family very close.
Let me pop on here again. Now, can you break down a bit of your community and political history for the show, if you would, for me?
Well, let's start off right now. I work as the programs director for the Norfolk City Jail. Sheriff Barron and I have been long-term time friends for over 30 years, and he knew I was a professor at Tidewater Community College and had strong education background, and so he wanted to help improve the quality of life for members of our community, particularly our returning citizens. He believed that would reduce recidivism and keep our citizens safer, particularly since most of the people in the Norfolk City Jail return back to the community. And so I joined the jail team as the programs director, and we made a whole lot of changes to the programs department and hired a lot of different people. We've increased the GED graduation rate. We've started and partnered with Tidewater Community College using the Job Skills Training Program. And so we instituted a parenting class. We have mental health training classes and a lot of different things to make a difference in the lives of others every single day.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, when did you sort of first know that you wanted to run, and how's it going so far, if you would?
Well, you may not know that, I've been a member of the Norfolk and the Virginia Beach Democratic Committee for over 20 years. I started off with the Norfolk City Democratic Committee, working as a precinct captain for the 90th district. Now, the 90th district is similar to the 95th district as it is today, where it's part of Norfolk and part of Virginia Beach. It's always been that particular way. And after 10 years, I ended up working as a legislative aide with Senator Spruill. I've been doing that for the past 7 years, learning the Senate side of the General Assembly. Senator Spruill is well versed in politics and local government and the General Assembly. Of course, he's served as a city council person. He's also served in the House of Delegates and now currently in the Senate of Virginia. And he's taught me a lot. He's taught me a lot about the General Assembly. He's taught me a lot about how to write bills, which I've done several of bills for him in the past. He's also taught me how to make things happen. If you remember the show Alexander Hamilton, in the room where it happens, you got to get those votes. And that's what's most important to the citizens in our community. So I spend a lot of my time listening to the concerns of the community and then taking those concerns and turning them into useful legislation that will make a difference in the lives of others.
Now, could you just give me a little bit about how your campaign's going to this point?
Well, we started our campaign for the 95th district over a year ago. Once we noticed that, the district lines was going to be settled. Senator Spruill and others have really encouraged me to get involved and run for the 95th district, mainly because of my education level, my experience in the General Assembly, my experience in the community, working with the community college system, and my background. They felt like I was the best person for the job and I can make things happen. And I do too, frankly, that I'm the most qualified and the most educated person for the job. We have approximately 75 to 80 volunteers, a strong volunteer force. If you remember, for the General Assembly, we had to have 125 signatures. We had over 400 signatures by January the 7th for our campaign. We was knocking on doors very, very early. We sent out probably 8,000 to 10,000 flyers, and we're continuing to knock on the doors. Look, campaigns are won by knocking on doors and talking to people. Getting those big dollars from those donors that's going to try to control you and your legislation. Money is okay and pretty good for campaigns. You got to have it. But the most important things are knocking on doors, and that's our strong point. And I think we're doing very, very well. I think we're going to win very, very well. But we are running like we are running behind, and we're knocking on doors every single day and calling out people getting out to vote. Early voting started today. And I've had people call me already saying they're heading to the polls and they're voting for me.
I forgot about that. Yeah, this actually is that first day of early voting. So people watching, get out there and vote. You have some time, but at least it started today. Now, I also want to get into the more hot button topics. And last night, reproductive rights was such a hot button topic. So let's look at that for a minute. What's your take on it from the recent SCOTUS decision on down to Virginia politics?
Yeah, like I said, I've been knocking on doors and talking to a lot of people. We also believe that the majority of the voters in the 95th district are women. And I can tell you this, I've asked that question and we've had long conversations about reproductive rights. And I'm here to tell you that 95% of my constituents wants the government out of their healthcare decisions and reproductive rights for citizens. And you know what? I agree. First of all, women should have the right to choose what they do with their body. I also believe that their rights of women's reproductive rights are protected under a person's right to privacy. Those are the things I'm going to be arguing for to make it settled that the government should be out of the women's reproductive rights once and for all in Virginia. That's going to be one of the main things that I do when I get to the General Assembly, is to protect the reproductive rights of women, among several other things.
Well, speaking of several other things, you worked in education, hence the professor listed there on your screen there. Now, education, of course, has been a huge topic for Virginia throughout the last couple of election cycles. So, what do you see out there, and what do you wish to do when you're in the General Assembly?
When it comes to education, of course, you know, no one questioned my support for the Virginia public school system because my wife, served as a public school teacher for the last 20 plus years. And so I see the work that the strong men and women who with our Virginia education system do every day, and they make a difference in the lives of others. But one thing I think we can do better with our public school system is that for those students who want to go to college, we have that dual enrollment where you can graduate from high school and have a associate degree at the same time with our community college system. Not only here in Norfolk and Virginia Beach, but across the state. But what about those students who don't want to go to college, but they want to enter the workforce? That's where I believe we can do the same similar things where we take those students from beginning in high school, ninth grade, start them with our community college system with the job skills training programs. And then once they graduate from high school, they can go straight into heating and air conditioning with their certification, get their LPN and go into nursing school if they wish, be one of the best auto mechanics and work for one of our large dealerships making $75, $80 an hour, which people are doing every single day, or being a plumber. Those are great paying jobs where you can support your family and live a good life. And we can keep students interested in education and stay in school till they graduate and keep them busy. The job skill training program is something that the community colleges are already doing now. They already have that mechanism in place where we can work together with our public school systems. And our public schools have stopped doing those things years ago. Like when I was in high school, we had the wood shop and the metal shops and things like that, where they discontinued a lot of those shops. We need to bring those things back, keep our kids in school, make sure they have good wage paying jobs where they can earn a living and support their family and be a great productive citizen. And I also believe that's going to reduce our violence in our communities also.
All right. Now, as you know, I have a few more questions that I would like to ask before we call it a night tonight. But very recently, I just got hit up by a mutual friend of ours who worked in the same spaces and is also a member of the VBDC. Very good activist in the local community, Miss Georgia Allen, and she wanted to tap in. If you don't mind, she has a few questions.
Sounds great.
Yeah, let me tap her in right now. Hi, Miss
Hello.
Georgia.
Hi there.
Hello.
Good to see you.
Nice seeing you too.
Okay, just a couple of questions. Of course, I've read over your materials with regards to how you stand on issues, and you spoke about the combat medic and being a veteran, and we're in a very heavily populated military area. I was wondering if you have any policy or anything that you would like to present to the General Assembly with regards to the VA, especially the VA hospital. Has that been on your radar in terms of, setting some type of policy to correct some of the issues that we have with the VA?
Yeah. First of all, you probably also know that I am a disabled veteran also.
Mhm.
And so I'm very, very familiar with the failures or the shortcomings of the VA hospital. And then you also know I'm a person that believes in creating partnerships.
Mhm.
I believe that the state of Virginia can assist the VA for our veterans here in Virginia to where we can have those dual systems where a person who with the VA hospital can also participate with our state hospital and state organizations or the health department, whatever it may be. We have to learn how to work together to solve our differences. And of course, not only in the state of Virginia, but across the United States of America, the VA hospitals need help. Not only that, they're short. The VA hospital can use our colleges and universities as a training ground to help them with their shortage in employees and nurses, healthcare professionals, and all the jobs they have there. So it's a way to create jobs. First of all, I think it's important for us to sit at the table with the federal government and the VA hospital find out what their shortcomings are and where we can help them as a state. And then as a general member of the General Assembly, make those things happen. Look, it's all about doing the best and the smartest things and bringing the smartest ideas to the table. And anything that we can do to support our veterans. Of course, we know we have the world's largest naval base here. We're the amphibious base. A lot of those veterans want to make Virginia home. And if we can work out our healthcare system with a VA hospital, a lot of those veterans will stay here in Virginia and make Virginia home and also support their families here. That would be a win-win situation. Look, it's also going to be a heavy lift, but I'm ready to take on that challenge.
Very good. One of the other things that concerns me is the fact that both the federal government as well as the state government sends money to the local government. The issue that the citizens have is we're not sure where the money is going. A lot of times it comes to our city, but when it comes to working on issues that the citizenry cares about, seems like we never see that money actually getting into communities. And so I would like to know whether or not you have thought through any type of legislation that can help us better hold our local government accountable for the amount of money that comes in, but we never see it working on behalf of the citizenry, even when it should be earmarked for certain things. So I was wondering if you had any ideas or any solutions, because as you know me, and my whole thing is results, solutions, and that's how I live. So can you kind of help us with that? Because I think that's beneficial to all of us.
Yes, particularly when it comes down to state-funded grants that comes to our localities, I think those state-funded grants should come with conditions. Those conditions should be, and the localities have to agree to it, that it has to be transparency. There has to be a report card given to the citizens where the citizens can look at the report card, see where the dollars are going, where the dollars are being spent, and if there are any parts of the agreement that has not been met. Not only that, I think that the localities should give the citizens an update on the progress on the monies and where the money's going. I also believe that citizens the Freedom of Information Act, when it comes down to the localities, should be stronger so citizens don't have to go to the Commonwealth attorneys and almost sue the localities just to get the information on dollars that the citizens pay for. Look, it's the citizens' money. It's not money that is given from some person behind the screen. Citizens should know and have the right to know what is going on with their tax dollars, and the states should not hide it from them. It's something that's been done in the past, and that's one of the things I'm going to make sure that when it comes down to grants and money sent back to the states, it will come with conditions. If they don't want to meet the conditions, then maybe we need to send it to other nonprofits within the state that are willing to meet those conditions.
Very good. I will switch back to you. I do have a couple of other questions, but since this is your show, Conrad, I'm going to switch back to you for a moment. And
sure, I got a couple.
Okay.
Next one I'm curious about is raising money, and we all know how tough that is in campaigns. Just curious if you think it's possible to run successfully without really selling out to the big special interests. And what's your greater view on campaign finance?
Yeah, when people give you a lot of money, it comes with conditions. Everybody knows that. And the more money they give you, the more conditions it comes with. First of all, most of my donations, if you check my campaign finance, most of my donations come from small businesses and families and friends that want to see me get in office and make a difference. The constituents, those are the people who I'm going to listen to, and those are the people who are going to send me to Richmond to represent them as a representative. It is my job to listen to the concerns and complaints of citizens and going to the Virginia Assembly and making a difference based on their thoughts and their concerns as a representative. That's how we're going to do it. Secondly, If you haven't been watching, we have a strong ground team, over 75 volunteers that's willing to be out there knocking on the doors to make a difference. You know, all my life, I've been working as a team. That's all I know. And when I go to the General Assembly, I'm going to the General Assembly as a team. And my team members is all the constituents in the 95th District and the citizens of Norfolk and Virginia Beach. I'm very, very excited about representing them in the 95th District. I'm ready to get to work. And like I said, I was so happy and proud today when I'd see this unknown number come on my phone, and there's a citizen that says, "Hey, I'm going out to vote early today, and I just want to let you know that I'm going to vote for you, and I'm sending my family also." That is a great feeling when the citizens not only want to vote for you, but they trust you that you're going to do the things that you say you're going to do. You know, look, you know, when I was in church, you know, we used to sing this song, you know, let the work that I've done speak for me, and let the life that I live speak for me. I only know one thing. I only have had one life, and that's been a life of service ever since I was 17 years old. From the military to the state to working with Senator Spruill, working for the local government, working hard and volunteering with the NAACP, making a difference in people's lives every single day. And God has blessed me and my family, and I'm going to continue to work hard for the people in the state of Virginia, particularly in the 95th District.
Good. Now, next up is going to be probably one of the hottest of all the hot topics. So I'll state right off the jump. Personally, I, Conrad Chesvener, am overtly anti-gun. In viewing gun violence in our communities, what is your take as an aspiring delegate?
You know, one of the things I've done over the last year is that, one, of course, we know that gun violence is one of the number one causes of death of our citizens of 25 years of age and younger. Years ago, there used to be automobile accidents, and it's no longer automobile accidents, it's gun violence. After talking to citizens, listening to the police departments and the police chiefs in the city of Norfolk and the city of Virginia Beach, going through the data and bringing my team together, we have already started and have wrote a bill to reduce gun violence in the state of Virginia. And the bill is called Rules and Tools Legislation to Reduce Gun Violence. Here's the facts. The Virginia Beach Police Department stated that every year, over 400 guns on the street are used in crimes that are stolen from automobiles. The city of Norfolk said their number hovers somewhere around 700 guns annually stolen from automobiles that are used on the streets. How do they know? Because they check the data from the police reports and they find out these guns are stolen. My Rules and Tools bill to reduce gun violence would start off by making legislation to where a person who negligently stores a firearm in their vehicle will be fined. Those fines would go to the marketing part to make sure we have a public awareness part, like we did with the seatbelt laws. Most of these firearms stolen from vehicles are stolen within the first 7 to 8 seconds, and those firearms are recovered underneath the driver's seat. The bill, it will require gun owners to take their guns and either lock them in their car or secure them in a locked glove compartment. Just doing that alone would take over 1,000 guns off the street annually in the city of Norfolk and the city of Virginia Beach, and not violate one person's right to own or bear a firearm. We have talked to a lot of people across the state, Democrats and Republicans, and we believe that this bill will pass without any issues because it does not restrict lawful owners of gun owners, but it will stop guns from being stolen from automobiles, which is the number one way that firearms are being found on the street. There's a second part to it. This bill also make it illegal for you to have an unsecured gun in your home if you have school-age children or children under the age of 18. Now, we also know that there's kids that have been getting guns from their families taking them to school, shooting other kids, shooting themselves. Look, the states have a compelling state interest to protect the lives of their citizens, particularly their children. This Rules and Tools bill is not the magic bullet, if you will, to stop gun violence, but it will take 1,000 guns off the streets in 2 cities of Norfolk, Virginia Beach by the stroke of the pen.
I'd like to tap in our friend Georgia one more time here.
Hi, I'm glad you're talking gun violence. I strongly feel that gun violence is directly related to economic opportunities and economic policies. And so I like what you said with regards to finding these people who are irresponsible. I think that's an irresponsible gun owner to get out a vehicle and have his gun readily accessible. But I would like to see some of those fines going into some other areas, perhaps to create some financial support to some young people as well, because I'm a strong believer in economic opportunity. If young people have a way of earning income legally, they are less likely to do illegal things. So with that policy that you're suggesting, could you perhaps add on to it an economic piece on behalf of our youth as well? Is that
Absolutely. And you know, if you remember when we had a lot of people dying from automobile accidents, I mean, no one wore seatbelts. Some cars didn't have seatbelts, so they cut them out of them. But now we have no one, or very few people dying from automobile accidents. And you can't find a kid to get into a car now without saying, hey, put your seatbelt on.
right?
It's written into our DNA now. I believe we can do the same thing with gun violence. Secondly, the fines for not having your seatbelt on went into a state fund to protect citizens' lives and from automobile accidents. Those same things can be done from an educational level and the economic development area in the state of Virginia. And not only that, don't forget, another bill that I'm gonna be proposing, and I already went to Richmond to talk to the community college system, the Virginia State Community College System, about doing the job skills training programs for all students from the 9th grade to the 12th grade, where they will have a gainful employment, get a certificate, either welding, heating and air conditioning. You know, we have the shipbuilding industry here. They are all short workers. Most of those jobs are paying $45+ an hour, that those students can get summer internships, get paid for those summer internships because they're working on their certification. And the day after they graduate from high school, and some of them before they graduate from high school can have jobs earning $45 to $50 an hour plus. Those are the things that can make a difference in a person's lives. And those are the things that can make people be good family, productive citizens, and live the American dream. Everybody doesn't want to go to college. I didn't go to college right after high school myself either. I went straight to the military. So we need to have something that's going to make sure that kids are interested in staying in school, because if they're in school, they're not on the streets getting in trouble. And then while we got them in school, we can find out what makes them tick, what things that they want to do, whether using their hands or using their skills on technology, getting them started in the community college system. So where when they graduate from high school, they can go straight into the employment arena. That brings me to my second thing. You know, I've been talking about doing a research triangle here in the state of Virginia for a long time. That's going to be another #1 priority. You know, you go to Charlotte, Mecklenburg County, and other nice big cities, and they have those research triangles where they're bringing in technology and education system, and then it spills over into the small businesses within the area where they're doing technology training or training on batteries. You know, we have NASA Langley here and countless colleges along here, including our community college system. Those networks coming together, creating that research triangle, would not only bring jobs to the area, particularly small businesses, but also keep our colleges and universities alive and thriving, all of them, and connecting them to NASA Langley. That's something we should have been tapping into a long time ago, because we have a great history and a lot of smart people here in the state of Virginia. And where they're going, they're leaving here, going to other states because they have the jobs in technology, science, and those STEM programs. And we don't have too many of them here. We can change that, and we can keep our children from leaving here and going to Atlanta, Georgia, and California, and Florida, and South Carolina, like other states also. It's something we should have been doing a long time ago.
I also agree with that. Innovation, AI, artificial intelligence. You know, I'm looking at the news and I'm seeing China build all of these electric vehicles. They're currently sending them to some of the smaller nations, but their intent is to get them international. And so I see an excellent opportunity for that, because I think that as all these cities around here, I don't think they're reaching the highest potential with our children. Okay,
Yep.
a lot of our kids are creative, they're innovative, and school is boring. And so, what I'm hearing you say is that maybe there's another opportunity for our young people. The other thing that I think has to be a focus is entrepreneurship. That has to be a part of this research triangle, and the innovation, the artificial intelligence, and all of those different things. Those tools have to be there so that our young people see more than just a job. I think there has been a sort of um, a negative without people realizing it. You know, our school system has operated the same way that it operated from its very beginning. You go into his classroom, you study your ABCs, and if you're lucky, you get selected for a gifted program, and you get to find out and check out other things. But what I'm hearing from you is that you're visionary and you're seeing a little bit beyond. But I think that needs to be encapsulated a little bit more to the entrepreneurship piece, because I'm looking at young people at 12, 13, 14 years old that have become multimillionaires with just an idea, because, you know, people have supported them. And I like to see that more in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And I like to see someone who is a champion for our young people. So what you've said so far is positive. The only other thing that I have, is because you answered my question. The only other thing I have is, of course, policing and the killing of civilians. What are some of your ideas in terms? I know police officers don't like to be monitored. They don't like anybody telling them anything to do. Not all of them. Always remember, when I'm talking, I'm never talking all, because we cannot say it's everybody in a police department or a schoolhouse or school building or whatever. But there are enough police officers who do not wish to be checked or monitored. What are some of your ideas as a former police officer, as a retired police officer, that you feel you can present to the legislative body to begin to change outcomes in terms of advocating on behalf of citizens, and not necessarily against police officers, but for better policing?
Yeah, you know, that is very, very close and dear to my heart and my family. First of all, I want to make sure that everybody who's listening clearly understands this: that the badge that police officers wear, it is not a symbol of power. The badge has always been a symbol of trust, and we are losing that trust in law enforcement. It's just sad to say. Secondly, if you look at the history in law enforcement, when we had the traditional law enforcement officers, police officers were members of the community that got into law enforcement. Today, police departments are recruiting from other states, bringing in people from other states into our community that is not a part of our community. That's one of the number one problems. Number two, the police departments in their hiring system have put in mechanisms that will eliminate people who work in our communities and who want to be police officers from joining the police department. Let me give you an example. Ever since we've had cell phones, we've had people not paying their cell phone bills because they ran up $200 or $300. Is that correct?
Correct.
Particularly young people.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when you not pay your cell phone bill, what happens to your credit rating?
Drops.
It goes down. If you have a low credit rating, you can't be a police officer. Does that make any sense?
No.
It doesn't make any sense at all.
Mm-hmm.
But what it does do, it eliminates great people who would have been police officers because they own a cell phone and they was young. They had bad credit rating. My credit really wasn't too good when I was young either. I wasn't a good money manager. Does that mean I can't be a great police officer if that's what I want to do and serve my community? It does not. That is one of many things that needs to be changed with the police department. We have to do a better job of recruiting our citizens, our young citizens, to take on that honorable responsibility in being a law enforcement officer patrolling their district. Let me give you an example. We all know that I grew up in Lambert's Point and I joined the Norfolk Police Department when I got out of the military. My first assignment was Lambert's Point. On day one, the citizens knew me. Very rarely did anybody call me Officer James. They always called me Rick, even when I was in the uniform. And they trusted that I was going to treat them fairly. Even when they had warrants on file, they knew that they were going to be treated fairly and they were going to have a fair shake. And we had very, very few fights, very, very few shootings, very few assaults on police officers. Even the ones that had some social issues, we were very compassionate about them because someone we went to school with, we knew their families. We got to get back to those traditions where we are policing ourselves and not having people from other states where they have no jobs available. So they come here to Norfolk or Virginia Beach or wherever to get paid more money than they were in their states, policing our citizens, and they don't even know the community. They don't know our community history. They don't know our background. That's one of many issues that we're having with our local police department. Look, we need to get a fair and impartial policing commission right here locally. The police department works for us, and they need to listen to us. We can't keep on letting it go to where it is. They're going to continue to be short. It's going to continue to be dangerous, and we're going to lose more trust in the community with the police department. So I want to be in the General Assembly where I can make a difference. And not only that, not only do our educators need a little bit more funding, so do our law enforcement communities need more funding, and they need to be doing more community events, more community policing. Community policing has been proven to reduce crimes in the neighborhood, and you build in that public trust. So that's one of many things we need to do. And look, they can't pull the wool over my eyes because I've been doing it for 27 years, and I'm not trying to hear the stuff that they're not really doing. So it is what it is. I know what's going on, and I'm ready to get in there and make a difference.
Thank you. Well, that's my last question. I'll just stay in the back in the green room and listen to the rest of the show. But Thank you for being open and honest. I'm one of these people that I don't have a lot of time for the hoopla. I have time for common sense legislation and common sense conversation. So I do appreciate that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
in the past they said the truth hurts. Mm-hmm. What I'm saying to you now is that the truth will save lives.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Well, thank you for coming on, Ms. Georgia. We'll speak a little later tonight. Now, I also would like you to touch on healthcare, because I bet you have some ideas on healthcare and mental health, how you as a potential legislature would like to improve that here in Virginia.
Wow. Our mental health system is so broken that when we have loved ones that's suffering from mental health and they have no beds available, they end up in our jails and our prisons. A person with mental health illnesses should not be in jail or in prison or charged with a crime because of their illnesses. First, from a legal standpoint, they don't have what they call mens rea. Mens rea is that criminal intent. So if you don't have criminal intent, you can't be convicted of a crime. But because of our mental health system is so broken and we don't have enough providers and the state is not investing enough money into it, we're using our jails and prisons, and the healthcare system is failing. And as you can tell, we are seeing more people suffering from mental illnesses, more people that are homeless, more people who are crowding the hospitals, who are affecting their jobs, their families. It's affecting everything. And as a member of the General Assembly, I'm smart enough to know that if we have a working mental health care system and a healthcare system, that our general public will be healthier, they'll be more productive, and everybody wins. Right now, the way we're doing it is not cheap, it's very expensive, and it doesn't work. And the sad part about it is breaking apart families and people are dying. Something has to be done right now. Secondly, there's a shortage of workers in our mental health system. The state of Virginia should offer scholarships to anybody who wants to study health or the mental health sciences. And if they're willing to work for the state in a state hospital or one of the community hospitals for 5 years, their tuition would be paid in full. It'll be money well spent, because you can't put a value on our health and our healthcare system. So that's one of the things we can do. I don't think they're taking our mental health system or mental health care very seriously in the General Assembly now. It's going to take some tough conversations. It affects everybody. I don't know anybody that don't have someone that they know that's suffering for some type of mental health, and then they can't find the health care that they need to make them strong, productive citizens. And our children need their parents.
Mm-hmm.
So that's very important. I did an interview and they asked me what was my number one priority. I have about 50 number one priorities. President Barack Obama said we got to learn how to do more than one thing at a time. And we're going to have to do more than one thing at a time in the General Assembly. There's a lot of things that needs to be done, and I'm ready to get the work done and burn the midnight hour.
I think former President Obama was also pretty big leader in terms of social media and politics. And what's your approach regarding social media and politics?
You mentioned Barack Obama and social media. Okay, social media and politics is a game changer. One, because those people who traditionally didn't have the monies to use the newspaper and the press and those things, they can get their message out in social media for pennies on a dollar, if that. Majority of it is free. And you can communicate fast using social media. Now, do we need to make sure that people's identity is not stolen or is affecting families and things like that? Yes. That's just a checks and balances we need to put on social media to make sure people can use it safely. And we need to make sure we protect our children from bullying and the like that we're finding on social media also. But social media is something that is good. It's part of the future. Do we need to put some checks and balances on it? Yes, we do. But it is here to stay, and we might as well take advantage of it. Secondly, we talked about technology, and I want to make sure I make this clear. The states or the countries that control technology will also control the economy. You remember we had a shortage in vehicles being sold because of a small chip that stopped vehicles from being manufactured. That's controlling the economy. And so when I go back to this research triangle, we need to understand that if we want to have a say-so in our economical system, not only in the United States or state of Virginia, but in the world globally, we have to start embracing technology and creating our own technology infrastructure. Otherwise, other countries are going to be controlling the economy.
I'm also a little curious because technology had a lot to play in your former role of being a legislative assistant for Senator Spruill. Could you touch on how we may need to improve on constituent services, on the possibility when you become a legislator, how you would like to make yours just hum with greatness in constituent services?
You know, thank you for mentioning my boss and my mentor, Senator Spruill. One of the reasons why he recruited me to come work on his legislative team, and there was many reasons, is one, that he wanted to make sure that he was able to communicate effectively with his constituents in real time. Secondly, he knew that I was one of those people that can make that happen because I have a reputation of answering my phone all the time because, you know, I never know who it is and you never know who's going to need your help. So it's important for me to answer the phone for our constituents. Secondly, it's technology that allow us to do that. We're the cell phone industries. Sometimes we have our cell phones that don't work in certain areas and work in other areas. That's all technology. My goal in the General Assembly is to have the best constituent services in the state of Virginia, second to none. Because people, when they call you, they need you now. If they wanted you 5 days or 2 weeks from now, when you decide to return their call, it is too late. Can I tell you a little trick I played with my son when he was in college, my oldest son?
Yeah.
And I had to teach him a lesson very, very early. Well, when he went away to college, my wife and I would call him, and he would conveniently return our calls in 4 or 5 days. So he calls me. And I looked at the phone as my oldest son, and I didn't answer. My wife said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I got 4 or 5 days." And so he called crying, and "Dad, you didn't answer the phone." I said, "Well, you set the standard of returning my calls in 4 or 5 days." So the moral of the story is, that was almost 15 years ago. If I call my son now, he answers on the first call because he knows that communication is very, very important. And it's the same with our constituents. When our constituents call us, it's something that's very important they need us for. And, you know, remember, we volunteered. We asked to take this job to represent them. So it's very important for me, my organization, and my team that when our constituents are reaching out to us, you know, we answer the call. And if they're not calling, we're reaching out to them to see how they are doing. Because it is important for us to have a healthy, safe, and strong community and have an open line of communication. Look, if you want to ruin a relationship, stop communicating. I'm not trying to ruin our relationships. I'm going to communicate with our citizens on a regular basis, and they are very important to me and my team.
Excellent. Now, here will be sort of like the last pitch, if you will. Talk to, starting today, voters of the 95th District and give them your last elevator pitch for why they should vote for Professor Richard Rick James.
Well, thank you again, Conrad, for allowing me to come on your show. You're doing a great job. Thank you to all your listeners and all your supporters that support you and your show. Look, I've lived a whole life of service. I graduated from high school when I was 16. And the day I turned 17, I went and joined the United States Army to be a combat medic. I volunteered to take on the toughest challenges with the 82nd Airborne Division, and I served honorably and got out as a disabled veteran fighting for my country. When I left fighting for my country, I started fighting for the citizens of Norfolk, Virginia Beach, and the region as a police officer, vice narcotics, gang squads, community policing. It was important for me to make sure that our families, our grandchildren, our grandparents were safe and we lived in safe and healthy communities. I've done that job honorably for 27 years. It was also important for me to teach our future. And so I went back to school to get my bachelor's degree and a master's degree in government and public policy. And I'm a DCJS certified instructor in constitutional law and diplomatic immunity. So it was important for me to pass on those traits to our youth and let them know they were smart enough and good enough to do all the things they want to do as long as they put into work. But there was more learning to do. And that's why I was very, very happy to work under the direction of Senator Lionel Spruill Sr., who was a senior statesman in the General Assembly. He taught me everything that I can learn about how to pass a bill and how bills should be written and how to make sure you go across the aisle, one of the most important things to make it happen and make those compelling arguments, because our citizens need help now. So it was very, very important to me to learn. And now, with all those training and all the work I've done throughout my whole life of service, I'm ready to step up to the plate and represent the citizens of Virginia Beach and Norfolk and the state of Virginia to protect them against crime and gun violence, and protect women's rights, to protect our communities from flooding and sea level rise, and all those other things. Look, there's a lot of work needs to be done. And we need to have our most experienced people at the table representing our citizens. And not only that, being accountable to our constituents and answering the phone and being accessible to them and not being bought out by all these big dollars that's going into campaigns. Most of our monies has come from our citizens right here in the city of Norfolk and Virginia Beach. And I'm ready. I'm the most qualified. I'm the best qualified person to represent you. I'm a father, a grandfather, and a husband. I'm concerned, just like you, with the things that we're dealing with today. And I'm ready to make a difference right now, representing you in the 95th District of the Virginia House of Delegates. So I'm asking for your support, your vote, and your prayers for Richard Rick James, your delegate for the Virginia House of Delegates, representing the citizens of Norfolk and Virginia Beach. Thank you. God bless you all. Conrad, thank you. My son asks about you all the time as one of his colleagues on the football team at Salem. He still says you was one of the good players there. So Richard said he disagreed that you were not one of the good ones.
I'd say good personality, perhaps, but maybe not the best of players. Put that in quotes. That was more practice.
But it takes a team.
Yes,
it takes
sir.
a team.
That it does. For those same citizens that you just spoke to, how should they be able to keep in contact with you, follow you over the next several weeks?
Well, of course, I give my number out to everybody, and I want everybody to write it down, and you can call me. And when you call, I will answer. That number is 757-692-9222. 692-9222. My email address is rickjames95hd@gmail.com. And my website is rickjames95hd.com. Please reach out to me. If there's any concerns that you may have, I want to hear them. If there's any ideas that you have, I'm all ears. And if you would like for me to come and talk to you or your family or your group, please give me a call, and I'll be very, very happy to do so. Thank you.
And again, thank you so much for coming on the show and just speaking your mind on these great topics. Take care, Mr. James. We're about ready to wrap up the show. Folks, this was Richard Rick James running in Virginia's 95th District to represent citizens of Virginia Beach and Norfolk. This has been a great show. Thanks for viewing. Stay tuned for another great one down the line. I'm your host, Conrad Chesvener. Stay beachy and good night.